is Metal Show. My co-host, of course, is Tom Collier, the guitar player and principal songwriter of the band Held Hostage. We got with us, I cannot believe it, this is so exciting, the entire Rods band. You know, I have interviewed Carl many times over the years, but this is the first getting the entire band. And so thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You know, Dave, I know you don't do a lot of interviews, so thanks for coming. I got to tell you, as I was telling you before we came on there, I just love this new album. You know, your vocals are really kind of on fire, and as we were just talking, the Rods celebrating 40 years together. What a milestone for you and Carl, and really the whole band. But you know, how do you keep your voice after 40 years of doing this so strong?
By not singing. I didn't even realize I was a singer until this album. So it took a few albums to realize. Yeah, I didn't realize it, but I don't know. It just I don't do anything special. I mean, I've never been a smoker, you know. I've never smoked all my life. So I think that probably helps me a lot. And I'm not a drinker, so I've never, you know, I don't do drugs. So, you know, whether that, you know, makes a difference or not, I don't know. But I think I've on this album I've taken the vocals more seriously, you know. Yeah. And taking it more seriously in every aspect of the music and the vocals and the playing and everything. So I think that probably has a lot to do with, you know, why they're better than they would be before.
Well, not even better before. I'm just saying that a guy that's been doing this 40 years to still have that kind of voice, to be able to belt those high notes like you do, it's pretty impressive, you know.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. I really do.
Yeah, and let me ask you real quick, Dave, because I know when you know, when you were first getting started with Ronnie in the business, going back to the Elf band, when Richie Blackmore first formed the first version of Rainbow, you guys were his you know, backing band, and I was kind of curious. Did you initially kind of always start out like a lot of people as a guitar player, and then you kind of, when you went to do your own thing, I guess these are my songs, so I'll just sing the songs? Is that kind of how it happened, or were you always a singer as well?
No, I mean, in Ronnie's band, you know, we had like vocal backup, you know, like all the guys sing backup except for the drummer. So, you know, basically when I started in Ronnie's band, I started out on guitar, but I was just a vocal backup, you know, sing, you know, and that was the extent of my singing. I never really sang lead on anything in that band, and until, you know, the Rods were formed.
And, makes sense. Yeah. I'm gonna throw it to you, Tom, because I know you must have a few questions for the guys as well.
Well, first of all, congratulations on Rattle the Cage. What a great album. I just love seeing the Rods back. I mean, and Carl will tell you, I'm one of the biggest Rods fans ever. I used to go to the arcade and see you guys. That's how old I am. Loved you guys down there. I just want to ask you the question of with this album, I just think you've probably reached a whole new audience too. I mean, it's getting such great press. Are you guys adding more people? I mean, and is your back catalog is probably selling too, right? Am I correct in this?
I think Carl can probably answer that the best.
Yeah, no, things are up. No doubt about it. You know, bringing more awareness to the band, and we definitely see it. And by the way, not to correct anybody, but David and I have been together 45 years now, 1979.
Oh, wow. That's, wow. You definitely should correct that, because, I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. Almost 50 years. Wow, guy. And again, this is a new album, Rattle the Cage. And I tell you, in prepping for this interview today, I've been listening to this all day. And as always, Carl, you're on fire as far as your drumming, but like Shockwave, let me tell you, what a powerhouse drum sound on that one.
Thanks so much. I appreciate that. That was a fun track to play.
And how do you feel, you know, this is the first studio album with Freddie. How do you feel you and Freddie, you know, are as a rhythm section?
Well, I know I say it all the time. I couldn't be happier to be playing with Freddie. You know, we're definitely a really great rhythm section together, and I love working with him. So, you know, ask Freddie, but I'm thrilled.
Yeah, how about you, Freddie? I mean, like you're sharing with me, you know, kind of the first album you did with the band was the live album, which was ultimately your first gig you did with the band, which you didn't really know at the time. And that came out sounding pretty amazing. But this is the first time you get to be in the studio with these guys and actually get involved with the creative process, creating some new music.
Yeah, I mean, a credit to Dave and Carl, they let me be me
That's
and
great.
encouraged me to be myself. And, so that was refreshing, number one. I didn't have to really just, try to do anything other than be who I am. But, within the context of that, I have enough experience playing with other
Sure.
great guitar players and great drummers, whether it's like guys like Al Petrelli, from Widowmaker on guitar, or, Joe Franco on drums from Widowmaker, or Frankie Banali from Quiet Riot. So I kind of know how to, make other great players, to be the glue between other great players, and so it's really just about listening to what Dave and Carl are doing and responding to that, and being and fitting in.
Sure.
And trying to enhance whatever it is they're doing.
Sure. And David, I noticed that you're a principal songwriter. You wrote most of the lyrics, although Carl does, co-write some of the songs. So what's that process like? I mean, being that you're a singer, it makes sense you write a lot of the songs, but like on the ones where Carl is a co-writer, like talk a little bit about those, what that process is like working with him.
All through the years of the Rods, Carl and I have written all the songs, and we really have mostly most of them all have been written individually. Either he's written the song or I've written the song. And there's been a few songs through the years that we've like collaborated on, where I might have had a riff and he had an idea and lyrics and stuff like that. But in this album, there were a couple songs. It was like a Shockwave and Rattle the Cage were Carl's titles,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And Hell or High Water was Freddy's title. And I mean, it's like, for me, to take somebody's idea, when somebody says to me, hey, this is a good title, I think this is a good title, well, when Carl gave me the title of like Rattle the Cage and some, outlines of some lyrics too, I thought this was like an easy one to put together for me, because I could put the whole concept around the song, the concept was there. Shockwave, that was Carl's, and he gave me some lines too. That was a little more difficult because I knew it had to be like up tempo. I knew it had to be, that type of song, but it was really more difficult for me to come up with lyrics as far as like, a concept for the song, because the title of Shockwave is, can go in a lot of different directions.
Sure.
So, and then Hell and High Water, that was that came together very quickly. I mean, we were at rehearsal, and Freddie said, oh, that was a great title, is Hell and High Water. So I started playing this riff. It sounded like a rainbow riff, and it just kind of like came together very quickly for me to work on that song. Freddie had this in the beginning of Cry Out Loud. This is another situation. We were at rehearsal, and Freddie was playing this amazing bass line.
Wow, yeah.
Great. That's a great bass line, man. We got to use that somewhere, So, that's where that line fit, was in that song, in the beginning, and it really, really worked out really well. So, songwriting for me is like, I can't just sit down and say I'm going to write a song. It has to be, and everybody has their own routine that writes songs. If you come up with an idea or a concept or a title, or you come up with some, even some words, some poetry, like that would fit together, and later on you'll take that and put it to what you think might work with musically. But we've been able to, I think through the years we've had some great songs, songs that Carl's written, songs that I've written that could have been hits, at the time, but for whatever reason, they weren't. But we just keep working at it, and Carl and I have always been songwriters, and we'll continue to do that.
And like you said, you've been doing it for 45 years together, and that chemistry, you can really feel it. And I mean, especially you look at a song like Shockwave, where to me, I listen to that, and it's really kind of, the song itself is kind of centered around the drums, but yet the whole band comes, you do your thing vocally and on the guitar, and Freddie brings in his bass, and just together the whole band is on fire. That's the amazing thing about Barrage, especially being a three-piece band. You got three guys in the band, and yet it's not one guy shining, throughout the whole song. It's the whole band coming together.
Well, let me jump in here.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Carl.
go ahead. I was saying that, Dave, Dave and Freddie were both being a little modest. Dave writes great songs. He also writes with breaks and drum parts in mind for me. So he writes songs that set me up to shine. So that's a built-in thing when he writes a song. They'll always.
I'm glad you brought that up, Carl, because to me, like, if I had not heard you say that, I would think, okay, well, Carl's a great writer, he's a great drummer, so naturally, when he writes a song, it's going to maybe be based around the drums. But it's interesting to hear you say that. No, when he writes, David, that he kind of sets you up for success to do what you do.
Wait, did I say that? No, it's all about me, and I do it all, and that's right. I forgot. I said I was like,
but these guys might not know, but I started out as a drummer.
Wow.
So I've always had that in mind, and now I know Carl's playing well enough to know that, like, to leave spaces where he can, we can show what he can do, otherwise you don't need a drummer. You just put a click track down with electronic drums and you got a beat, but being a three-piece band, everybody has to shine, and everybody has to have freedom, to be themselves, as long as it fits within the realm of, like, what we're doing together. But you need to have that freedom, to play. And that's why I've always looked at it, and that's the way we do it now. Everybody's got to have freedom to play, the way they want to play. I mean, Freddie was a perfect fit because his ideas and his style of playing fit perfectly with, the way with Carl and I think about the music. So it was easy, very easy, to bring Freddie into the whole picture.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure, Carl, that Tom told you that me and Chaim are planning to have you come back and talk about your book. And that's why, of course, anybody is curious why we haven't brought that up. I did want to ask you, last time I interviewed you, you had mentioned that you were working on your book, Carl, but that also there were plans in the works for Barrage to maybe put together a book on the band's history. Is that something you guys are kind of currently working on or in the planning stages of?
No, the only thing I had thought about was a Rod's coffee table book.
Yeah, I think that's what you said.
So I think that would be really cool with such a history. But I want to circle back to Freddie because he and I are the rhythm twins here, and Freddie, what he was saying was very modest. He kind of fills in or whatever. But Freddie has brought a whole new energy and a whole style to his style of bass playing. The low end, his sound, his approach, his attack, everything about how we play together. And he and I work together on the rhythm section and parts, and that's a huge thing. We have not had that in the past, and it made a huge difference. And I think people are responding to that on the album, his tone, his approach. So it's not just that he's trying to fill in and he'll find little places. This is something that we've, it's premeditated. We've worked on this stuff, and Freddie's being very modest.
Wow. So, Tom, I'm going to throw it back to you, but before you ask the guy what you want to ask, I know you have a history with the Rod, and you and Carl go way back. So do you have a story from how you met these guys, or you want to share it with the
They don't remember they won't remember when I met them. It was at the arcade. I was probably drunk on my ass. I was the guy up front spilling the beer going, yeah, these guys, there's nothing going on in the city. In fact, I remember at one point I learned the whole Rod's album on guitar. I was so inspired by it.
Wow.
All them songs. You go out and see them. I go home and I try to figure out the guitar riffs and shit like that. So my story would be just seeing these guys and them not remembering me, but me thinking they knew who I was. All us fans, when you're out there, we think that they know us. He looked at us. Yeah, Rock recognized me. He pointed at me. He's probably saying, who the fuck is that drunk up there? Excuse my language, but stop spilling your beer.
Tom, you were at the arcade. I remember us playing at the arcade, and within 30 minutes, and you must have been one of the only people to stay, within 30 minutes, we emptied that place till it was just road crew and girlfriends. Everybody else left. More than once we've done that. at the arcade. So thank you so much, because we wouldn't have been playing to anybody if you hadn't stuck around.
I was the drunk up front going, yeah, come on, nothing going on this
Yeah.
day, guys. You know,
They
but
at the
so my
arcade, they left like we were like somebody was giving away free cars in the parking lot. I mean, they couldn't get outside fast enough.
See, that's not the way I remember it, though. I remember lots of people. You guys even had to put a rope up at one point. You know, you guys were just a great band. There was like 20 of us used to drive 90 miles to see you guys. We'd find out somebody said the Rods, and that was before social media. The Rods are playing at the arcade. We'd grab a beer ball, jump in this 5 different cars, go down there and get drunk and watch you guys. You know, but
Oh,
it was
beer
crazy.
ball! Wow, that goes
Oh yeah,
way back.
the old Matt's beer balls. But my question is this: I listened to Rattle the Cage many times. It kind of reminds me of what's going on today in the world. Was that song based on maybe? I don't get into the politics, but was that something based on today's world or what's going on and people's views and things like that? I prefer not to go into politics. I'm just asking about that.
What song is that?
Rattle the Cage.
Rattle the Cage. It kind of reminded me of like it was some. It had some overtones onto it. I don't know, but it could be. Maybe I interpret it that way.
Yeah, I mean, everybody seems to interpret that song the right way, the way it was intended to be, and it's geared towards everybody and everybody's lives, you know, and how they feel. If they're frustrated,
Sure.
you know, they got to speak up. They got to rattle the cage. It's like, you know, the squeaky wheel gets oiled. So that's basically the whole crux about the whole song is like, you know, rattle the cage. You let people know how you feel. So, I mean, I had to ask what song it was again, because there's more than one song on the album that relates to, you know, the general public of people. So, but that song in particular being the title track, you know, everybody seems to have interpreted that the right way.
Good. That's what I thought. That's what I felt about it. I could just feel like, you know, we're all frustrated today. Whether it doesn't matter who you believe in, we're all frustrated in what's going on. That's what I kind of got out from that. But that could have been me reading deeper into it. So I'm glad everybody's reading it the same way.
Mm-hmm. I think it's true. Everybody, you know, when I came up with the bits of lyrics, you know, it was really about no matter what it is, we all feel that way. Like sometimes you just want to rattle the cage. It's like enough, you know, you get frustrated. And so Dave did a killer job on it.
Yeah, great. I love the vocals, love everything, love the drums in that, the bass, everything. Just a great overall song. Musically, so superb. And I'm just happy to see you guys getting the due that everybody is listening to this album. And I'm so happy for you guys.
And,
thanks, Tom. Appreciate the support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another song I really dug, you guys, was Metal Highways. That kind of reminded me, kind of sounded a little bit like Dio, Judas Priest, a great kind of metal anthem.
I like that song a lot myself, which will, the shameless plug here. We have 2 new videos that will be released soon.
Oh,
and they're both, we had such an overwhelming response from the fans, but the lyric videos are photographs sent in by fans of their wall, of their tattoos, of whatever they have of the Rods, photos with us in the band. It's all fan photos, both videos. We had so many photos that we wound up with 2, and one of them is Metal Highways.
Wow. I can't wait for it. And that's got to be pretty amazing. You know, I know that's a thing a lot of fans do. They put the tattoos of their favorite bands on, but you know, being in the Rods, that's got to be kind of like, yeah, they're wearing our name, you know.
Oh, it's always cool. Do you have one?
Of course not. I got this though.
Oh, you got the CD. That's good enough. We can tape that on your arm.
There we go. Yeah. Wear with pride. It really is, you know, you guys, a great sounding album. I think I'm not surprised to hear you releasing a couple more videos. I mean, I think the hardest part for you's got to be these are 10 great songs. You know, which one do you release first? They're all great, you know.
Yeah, I mean that's also the same thing with our live set. You know, Dave usually puts things together and we'll talk about it, but Dave will arrange the set. And over the years, we have so many songs, and like Dave said, we have some really good songs, and it's really difficult when you're playing a 45 to an hour and 15-minute set to put all the fan favorites in and put in some new songs as well. It's definitely a challenge.
As far as that goes, this is such a great sounding album, and fans are really loving it. So, how many new songs do you think will be in the set at least?
I would say 2, maybe 3.
3.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3. I mean, Rattle the Cage has got to be a definite one. You know, it's a title track.
Sure.
And we'll probably pick, maybe 2 other songs, that we feel will come off live well and that people would want to hear, maybe songs that were in one of the that we did with the video, so that people would be more recognizable to somebody. But like Carl said, it's always difficult because, when you're only playing 45 minutes, even an hour, or even a little over an hour, you can only get so many songs in there.
Sure.
And there's certain songs or favorites that, like there's songs that we would never think of doing live. And, we run into somebody and say, "Oh, are you going to do this song? It's my favorite song." And, we're thinking, "Oh my God, we would never think about doing that live." But everybody's got their favorites, and it's really difficult. And we just hope that, when we put the set together, that we're getting a good cross section of, the songs that people might like, and again, there's so many different albums that, you can pick like a couple of songs. If you took 2 songs from every album, that's basically, your whole set.
Oh yeah. David Rock Feinstein. I got to ask you, how you came up with, the nickname Rock? That's something somebody gave you, or did you give yourself?
Well, it's a long story that I'm going to make very short.
Okay.
But Ronnie actually gave me that nickname.
Oh wow!
And when I first got in the band, Ronnie Dio and the Prophets, there's a history with my family name of having my last name in my history was the name of a fighter, a professional prize fighter, Rocky Marciano or Graziano or whatever. So the name Graziano was in my family history.
Oh wow!
So Ronnie would make fun of me and call me like the fighter's name, like Rocky Graziano, that kind of thing. And the name just stuck, like as the middle name, So originally it had nothing to do with music. It had nothing to do with rock music,
That's funny.
But that's basically how it came about.
That's cool, and I bet that's something you kind of wear the badge of honor, especially since Ronnie's passing. On that note, I got to say I seen the movie Dreamers Never Die, and you're of course in some clips of that, and talk a little bit about getting to be in the movie, as you should,
Well, the people that were assigned or hired to put the movie together, they're out of Philadelphia, I believe, or Pittsburgh, and they just went around and interviewed pretty much everybody that had any association with Ronnie, and I just got notified that they wanted to interview me. Of course, they interviewed me before COVID, and then COVID hit, and then they came back a year later. Came to Cortland. I took them all around town. I showed them Ronnie's house he grew up in and where he went to school, and just the history of Cortland, where Ronnie was from, and did another interview, and that was it. And I know it took them a few years to finish this thing, and I'm sure that they interviewed, and had a lot more on film than what the documentary ended up being, because it gets edited down, So I really felt honored to be part of it,
Yeah. Before we wrap it up today, Freddie, you were sharing with Tom and me before we went on the air that you do interviews or something for a magazine. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I started writing for Guitar World's Bass Guitar magazine probably in 20 years ago.
Oh wow!
But now I mostly write for Premier Guitar.
Okay.
So there's an interview that's out now with Richie Faulkner and Ian Hill and Glenn Tipton about the new Judas Priest album. And then I just interviewed Kerry King about his new album.
Wow.
He's got a solo album coming out.
And so I got to ask
Slayer.
I of course got the new Judas Priest album. What do you think about that? Have you had a chance to hear the whole thing?
Yeah, I think it's great. What I liked about it was that to me it sounds like the best of both worlds. It's got kind of like the attitude of Screaming for Vengeance, but it's got some of the more progressive elements of like Stained Class and Sin After Sin.
For people that want to really listen to progressive rock, go back. I just recently experienced this myself. Go back and listen to the very first Judas Priest album, Rock-a-Rolla. Sounds nothing like what you'd think of Priest, because partly it was written with another singer in mind, and and it's just kind of, that really sounds like progressive rock, and you'd be surprised somebody describing a Judas Priest album as that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, they
guys,
definitely,
it
their
was-
70s records were definitely had a little
Yeah.
bit more bandwidth in terms of their songwriting.
Yeah, sure. Well, guys, like I said, we really enjoyed having the whole band on. We're of course going to have you guys back down the line. Any plans to go on an extensive tour behind this, or just doing like some one-off dates?
We're playing the 20th of April in Ithaca with Jim Florentine, the comedian.
Wow.
And then we have July 6th in Sweden at Time to Rock Festival. And we're just, right now, we're finalizing our trip to Australia. We're doing at least 3 dates in Australia.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Carl, Dave, and Freddie, Tom and I once again would like to thank you guys for coming back. And like I said, we're definitely going to have you guys back. This should be going up in about maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Once we know a date, we'll let you know, and feel free to share it. I'll let you wrap it up, Tom.
Just congratulations, you guys. Such a great new album. And I will be in Ithaca to see you guys. I won't be with the beer bottle this time, but I'll be drinking water. I won't be the drunk guy up front screaming, but I'll be in the back going, yeah.
Tom, I'd love to see you there holding a beer ball.
You know what? I might bring one for you, Carl. I might just
Yeah, I
bring
like that.
Or hey, Tom, take Scott Braun with you, and maybe he can take some great photos like he did for this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, just congratulations on your new album. I'm just so happy for you.
Take
Thanks,
care, guys.
Tom. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Anytime.